Character design is difficult. I don't really think any of you are surprised at that, but recently I've discovered that it becomes increasingly more important to get a handle on as you develop your characters' stories and make content around them. Ask me how I know that. It's high time I give a few of my OCs a makeover. My main goals for this video will be to strengthen my designs through shape language and some simplification to make it easier for me to repeat the designs consistently. Alright, well, we might as well start with my main character, Dane. Dane is the now leader of his squad and is in the process of redeeming himself. Previously, he was fighting on the side of the enemy kingdom of Triton due to some less than ideal circumstances. But now his tortured soul is set on defending his own kingdom after being rescued after a near fatal injury by a mysterious man. Dane's main struggles and the overarching theme of the story is about heroism, and what exactly does Dane need to do to be a hero? With the character introduction out of the way, what am I actually trying to do here? The first thing I'm concerned about is being on model. I can be somewhat inconsistent with my faces for characters, and that's not necessarily from lack of trying. It's more so a lack of good reference with all the features mapped out in a memorizable pattern. So I finally made a turnaround for his head, at least half of one. Editing Sci-fi here, I remade his face. Here it is. Yeah, that's really it. For the most part, I'm keeping his design fairly similar. His color palette is going to be pretty much the same as his previous, so that wasn't something I was very worried about, except maybe getting rid of a few of the colors for the sake of, again, simplification. After I did the partial turnaround of his face, I did a basic frontal A pose to get a general view of his body and his armor, of course. This part was pretty straightforward. I do the A pose a lot, but something I'm doing with these character sheets is having a dynamic character pose as well. I think that this will make the character lineup I do at the end more interesting, and the sheets in general will just look better, as well as a visually interesting way to show off more parts of the designs in perspective. It will also be important for something else that I will talk about later. Now, for the most part, I enjoyed making the better part of this sheet, but the pauldrons, they took me forever to make. I redrew those guys so many times. I was genuinely about to give up and start back later, which is something that I've never been like. I usually barely ever get that frustrated with something I'm drawing. So I was about to do that until I remembered the Clip Studio Asset Store. It was my saving grace. I was a little worried that I wouldn't find anything that would work, but I did end up finding these models and finally figured out how to make the perspective work for the pauldrons, I think, eventually. I am like, this video has taken me so long to make just because just a lot of things, mainly a wrist injury, which has caused me to have to take longer breaks between everything, basically. So there are going to be like a lot of random edits. Not all of them have been recorded, but you know, most of what I'm saying is still applicable. I just applied them better in the end. So they went through a few edits, but I am now happy with how they look. And it's really important that the pauldrons have a good look to them. They're a very important part of his design. They established the general shapes I like to use for him, that kind of triangular shape with the wings. I'm not really sure what to call it, so here's a picture. They also add that heroism vibe that I'm going for. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat, he's cleaning himself right now. While Dane may not see himself as a hero, many others look up to him in a variety of ways. And so, you know, it's important to have a heroic looking figure in some aspects, but in others, he like just kind of looks really sad and depressed. So that's cool. I have a lot of fun drawing armor, but it can be difficult to balance everything. It's stiff, so I have to think about that a lot, and I also can't add too much detail, so I have to really simplify parts of it. If I was making some realistic armor, I would probably have more rivets and just plating in general. I'd probably have chainmail and scales, but that's not really feasible for this style right now. And for the type of stuff that I'm wanting to make with him, mostly comics. I'd really love to make a video where I take Dane or another character and redesign them into different media. Like, I think that designing Dane, if he was going to be a part of a dark fantasy game like Elden Ring or any Dark Soul thing, and how the level of detail and the realism would change with that, I think that would be pretty interesting at least. If any of you are interested, let me know. A big reason I wanted to make these sheets is to get ready for Art Fight this year. I've never participated in it, so I'm a little nervous about it, but I think it'll be fun, and I have a great excuse to update these sheets and make them look interesting with those dynamic poses. Now that we have Dane done, why not move on to his right-hand man? Hendrix is a young man who joined the army in the hopes of being the hero he never had. As a kid, he read a lot of stories and always had his heroes that he looked up to, stories that resonated with him, and dragons that he wanted to slay. When Dane rolled up to the army after his canon events, Hendrix immediately saw a story in him. He seemed like the mysterious traveler, or the solemn paladin, maybe the forsaken prince? Rags to riches, perhaps? All Hendrix knew was this guy had, for lack of a better term, bad aura. Dane was a reluctant friend at first, but soon enough, they became close as brothers, because a lot of Hendrix's themes have to do with heroes, and how Hendrix very much wants to be one of those idealized heroes. I want that to come across in his design. Something strong, sturdy, and reliable, but a little bit playful to help reflect his personality. This was his old design, and the biggest thing I'm changing is his color palette. I think that a darker look will have the right amount of edge to it and be an interesting contrast to Dane, which hopefully will work pretty well since they are both, personality-wise at least, very different, even though they get along well. In some ways, Hendrix reminds Dane a lot of his younger self, in that he wanted to be this perfect hero. That perfect hero thing didn't exactly work out for Dane. Maybe it will for Hendrix, who knows? I do. I'm going for a more hourglass type, but with an emphasis on his chest, reminiscent of Superman in a way. His pauldrons are basically just squares, and I'm adding thick blocky armor around his legs to help accentuate his very large muscular frame. Now, the armor didn't give me too much trouble since I did a bunch of pre-sketching for the colors, but, and I did this for most of the characters, I ended up changing the colors of his clothes under the armor because when I lined up all the characters at first, it was feeling a little dull and cool-toned, which I felt would be an issue when it comes to putting these characters into a comic setting. I also warmed his skin tone because, well, basically for the same reason. I looked kind of weird with all of the brown on his clothing being much more saturated than his face, and that kind of made me realize, oh, he's kind of gray. So yeah, fix that, I think. Other than that, I think the only thing I changed is the front profile. That's just because I thought his eyes were too close together. I am horrendously horrible at using the liquify tool. I didn't know it was I didn't know it was possible to be bad at the liquify tool, but here we are. I may decide to add some more expressions or a casual outfit, but I'm pretty happy with this, especially the action pose. Alright, so now that we have him done, so Callista is a bit complicated. Her story mostly lies in the story, if that makes sense. She develops through the story. I mean, they all do, but she goes through the most personality changes in the story. She's extremely untrusting, she pushes people away with her rude, sarcastic personality, and if that doesn't work, she might just pummel you. She's definitely not the easiest person to get along with. But thankfully, neither is Dane, and one other character you'll see soon, so The found family will be mwah as the story progresses. I hope. I think it does. Now, her design didn't change much. The biggest change was just stripping away details and, again, getting the shape language down. Speaking of which, Callista is an archer ranger, and something that I don't think we see enough as is like really strong archers, like visually. So I wanted to be sure that she has some biceps on her and an overall muscular type build. Yeah, she's also very tall. She's 6'2". Her design is very angular. Overall, she's kind of a powerhouse with the chosen weapon of a bow. Like I said, her design didn't change a lot, but I had some issues with her face. I don't know what it is, but recently I've had a lot of trouble with front profiles. They're the bane of my existence right now, so I should probably do some studies. Ooh. But hers especially has always kind of given me trouble. She has a unique face compared to a lot of my other characters, so that added to my troubles. Other than that, I like it. I think it looks good. Next character. So, I did not change too much about Zed. To be honest, I'm a little foggy on Zed's exact place in the story, mainly in relation to his home, the funeral grounds. But that is my issue to deal with, that you will probably hear about in a longer video that's not dedicated to 6 characters. What you all need to know is that Zed is a healer. His village was rather isolated and near Treden's border. That's the enemy kingdom, if you remember. It's fine if you don't. I don't have the time. He and his sister Zipporah were sent away in the hopes that they could get to their grandpa's home at an ancient funeral ground. On their way to the grounds, they were found, and Zed lost his sister, who shielded him from a fatal blow. When he got to the funeral grounds, he met with his grandfather, who's actually the guy who convinced Dane to go back to the Elf Kingdom and, also, healed him or whatever, after Dane escaped Treden. Unfortunately, Zed's grandfather passed away soon after he got there. Zed has complicated feelings around heroism. Not quite a dislike, but he doesn't find honor in a noble death like the one his sister faced. It's almost vain to him. It's an insult. He's mostly just upset that that's how his sister went out, if I'm being honest. That's not what he'd say, but, what I say goes. Despite this, he is still a healer, and ready to make sure that others live on. Dane was able to convince Zed to join his group, and now he's the odd one out of a group of valiant knights and aspiring heroes. So, because Zed is a bit of an oddball in both aspirations and his place of origin, I wanted to accentuate that with his clothing style. He has 2 main designs. One is his base everyday outfit with wide pants and some pouches and a herb book. His second design is reminiscent of what healers would wear in the old era, covering their face so that their identity would be hidden to the recipient of their services, so that the patient would not feel in debt to a single person. Zed's design is very blocky. This is to get the idea across that he's reliable, set in his ways, and a bit low energy. I did make a lot of changes off recording, like I said. I've been dealing with some wrist issues, so there were a lot of pauses and breaks, and I did not want to deal with the OBS recording. I may have the Clip Studio recording though, so I might just have that up there. I don't know. Yeah, I liked Zed's design. It did not change very much. On to our next character. Lewis was a bit of a headache to redesign, but I did have a general game plan. I did a few runs of armor designs trying to focus on a heart shape. The main issue I had with his previous design is that it didn't really reflect his personality. It was darkly colored with sharp, harsh shapes, which is the exact opposite of his character, which can work in some cases. You can have a design that's intentionally misleading. That does not work for Lewis. So let me tell you a bit about him. Lewis is the son of a lesser noble and feels that he was handed a lot in life with little to do with his own capabilities. Lewis is not the cleverest, but he is determined to make his own name. So like anyone else, he's signed on to the army and will work his way through the ranks on his own. His more noble birth is not incredibly notable, as many squad captains are also of similar nobility to Lewis. And due to his less than outstanding performance, he had some trouble finding a great match. Thankfully, Dane is not picky, and he found the right approach, and now they have a lovable, determined, trusty Lewis at their sides. I don't know if there's a dedicated heart of the group, but if there was, it's Lewis. I mean, he literally has heart motifs all over his design, and yeah, he's just a general light to the group. So I think that I did his sheet first, and honestly, I think it turned out pretty good. Colors were edited in post to be more warm, but other than that, I didn't really change anything. I think the pose is fun, and I don't know, it works. Yeah, I hope you guys like it as much as I do. Sometimes it's a little hard for me to fit in a whole character into a short section of a video, but I'm not sure yet if a longer yap video about my OCs would be very interesting. I'd love to make one, like OC dedicated videos would be fun, but you know, who knows? We'll see. All right, we are already on my final character, Odette. Odette is the middle child of a larger family, and she wants to protect them. Her way of doing that is by joining the army. She's very quiet and seemingly non-confrontational, so not many wanted to take her onto their squad. I mean, look at her. She looks like she would apologize to a door for running into it. Based. To be fair, she would. Just because of that doesn't mean that she's not also a fearsome warrior. Anyways, Dane figures that he has no place to be picky about his teammates and agrees to bring her on. Though on her first impression she seems very sweet, she wields her axe with a vengeance. She's also very honest. There have been many times when she sees the conflict in the team and is able to work it out. Maybe with some headbutting, but hey, she gets there eventually. I didn't really have an official design sheet for her beyond this, and it's not even as detailed as most of my other sheets that I make. I mean, she's not even wearing armor. I leaned into rounded and oval shapes for her design and added a shorter skirt underneath her armor, and that's mostly to help present her more approachable but shy demeanor. It's also just another way to customize and differentiate her from other characters' armor. Odette is one of my favorite designs for my OCs, and I've gotten several people saying the same, so I'm pretty happy with her outcome and glad I have this sheet done. Like I said before, I'm getting these done in the hopes of joining Art Fight this year, because I just think that would be really fun. I'm sorry it took me so long to get all these designs finished. I've re-recorded this like so many times because I feel like the audio is always wrong. And between college and a wrist injury, this art has just taken me so long to get done. So I'm really glad I was able to finish this. If you're interested in more of my art, you can check out my Instagram. And if you want to learn more about my OCs, I have a few long form videos and lots of shorts videos starring them. I hope you all enjoyed this video and have a great day.
Bye.